Hey everybody, it's Jack Rita with Future Pastimes, and I'm the designer of the Adventures of Conan. And in this video, I want to talk about fights and duels and give you several examples of how they work. Now, these are things that are going to take place in the main phase, which is when you are largely interacting with the board. And what is the difference between a fight and a duel? Well, a fight involves a fight challenge token. So when these get revealed, whoever ends up revealing it is the one who has to have the fight. The number of warrior symbols on the token is how many successful hits, how many successful warriors you need to roll in order to win that fight. And that will also be the number of victory points you'll get if you do prevail. And then the penalty is typically a wound. There's one of the expansions has a brutal fight, which is it's a 4 fight, but there's 2 wounds if you suffer that. So I'm going to talk about first of all, a couple of ways that you can have a fight and who will end up doing the fight. So we've got the Conan and we've got a foe. And if you're playing with 3 or 4 players, you're going to have an ally character as well. The ally doesn't have a token per se. If you get the miniatures upgrade, there are miniatures of the allies, but the allies are always wherever Conan is, so there's really no need for the token. But an ally can move Conan, and when the ally is moving Conan, the ally is the one that gets the goodies for doing it and also suffers any penalties that might happen. So, for instance, if they move into a kingdom with the challenge token, they have to reveal it, and if it is a fight, for example, then it's the ally that has to do the fight. So if Conan moves into a kingdom with a fight with a challenge token, that's a fight. Conan will have the fight, and this is an immediate effect. So we'll get into example how this works, but as soon as you reveal the fight, you're in the fight. If the ally moves into the kingdom with the token, then the ally is the one who is in the fight. And if a foe moves into a kingdom with the challenge token, they can choose to not reveal it. That is one of the perks of being the foe. If they do reveal it, like maybe they don't know what this is, now they are immediately in the fight. Now it is possible to move these tokens. They cannot be placed in a kingdom that has a character in it, but they can be moved into it. And this is something that if we look here at the action board here, move action, number 2 there, move a challenge token. So that's something the foe can do and something that the ally can do. Number 2, move a challenge token. But Conan can't move challenge tokens. He can move fate tokens. So that's the difference there. There are effects that can let Conan do that, but it's just not a normal one that he can do. So if somebody else moves the challenge token into the kingdom, it doesn't matter who it is, it will be revealed. So in this case, let's say the ally moved this into this kingdom, then the foe is in a fight with this challenge token. And if the ally moves this token into a kingdom with Conan, the ally is in a fight. So, and if the foe moves it in here, then it is Conan. So that's one of the perks of being the ally, is that the foe can't get you with challenge tokens. So that's how you would trigger a fight. So let's take a look, and I'll go ahead and explain. The main difference between a fight and a duel is that a duel involves the characters themselves. So if Conan moves into a kingdom with another character, then he is initiating a duel, and they'll play out very similar to how the fight plays out. But if the foe moves in, then there'll be a duel with Conan. 2 foes can duel each other. The ally can duel if the ally moves Conan into a kingdom with the foe. It's the ally who will duel the foe. But if the foe moves in, they can't duel an ally. Again, another perk of being the ally is that it's Conan who will end up having to do it. So let's take a look at how we'll look at a fight first, and then we'll talk about how a duel will be different. So with a fight, again, it is only the one player. So let's say that this was moved into Conan's kingdom, and now Conan is immediately in the fight. So what you do, the first step is you have to form a warrior pool, and that is by looking at your active dice and figuring out which ones can be considered a warrior for this purpose. And so there's going to be three possibilities. One, of course, if you have any dice that are showing a warrior, those can be selected for a warrior pool. If you have any dice that have your character symbol, because you can do a deploy to warrior. So this could be used as well. These could not become part of the warrior pool, but let's say that you had rolled a wild, then you could use that die as well. You're not required to use every die that can be used. So you might want to save this wild for, because again, you're in the main phase. So you might there might be an action that you really want to do, or like, I need to be able to move. So I got to leave one of these dice that can move me. You can do a sail action with this one, but that might not be enough to get Conan to a kingdom with an adventure or wherever it is he needs to go. So you choose the dice that you want to use. So let's say in this case, Conan's going to choose his primary orange dice, because these are the best dice he has for rolling a warrior. He's got a warrior result. So if we look at the different sides, in fact, we can just look here on the other side. So you can see that on three faces, there is a warrior symbol. So those bottom three onto the right. He's got the double warrior, the single warrior there, and then the split one with the character and the warrior. You can count that as a warrior because it has a warrior. So what you do is you take this, and now what you're doing is you are just trying to roll warriors. Before, you could use a character to deploy, but you have already deployed at this point, so you can't double deploy. You have to roll a warrior. If we had used the die here that has the wild, because there's no wilds on the primary, but the secondary dice here, the general ones, do have a wild symbol. So a wild will count as a warrior, but right now for this one, we're just rolling these two dice right here. And we got to get 4 results. But the good news is anytime you roll a successful warrior result in a fight, you get to re-roll that die. So let's see how we did here. All right, well, that was bad. That is 2 fails. So those would become spent dice. Anything that's not a warrior is immediately spent. And because we have no more dice to roll, we can't then decide to then use this. We formed our warrior pool, and that's it. So this would result in a fail. So let's try a different example here. Let's roll again here. And here I've rolled 1 warrior. This is not a warrior, so that goes away. But now I grab one of my hit tokens here, and I keep track of that because I can re-roll this die. And so let's say that I rolled it again, and I got this symbol right here. That's a double warrior. So that's 2 more successes, and I get to roll the die again. And so if I roll again and I lose, I'm going to get the, I'm going to fail, get the wound. But if I roll a success, then I would have the 4th hit that I need to do this. So there's my 4th success. And that at that point, the fight is over. It's over when you either get all the hits that you need or you have rolled not enough warriors. So if it is a success, I would get the 4 victory points immediately. If it's a failure, I would get the wound. If it's a success, any of the last rolls that are showing a warrior or a wild, they return to my active dice. So if I had rolled 2 double warriors, I would have won that battle, and then those dice would immediately, I'd have 2 double warriors over here. So sometimes this can be good, and sometimes even if Conan knows that there's a fight token, because maybe he used a scry action. If you used a scry there, that lets you peek at a challenge token, and then you could do a move action. So, let's say that this was here, and Conan is in Argos. He does a scry action, and it lets him take a look. He's like, "Ooh, it's a fight there," and let's say that he's got, he's rolled. I got 3 dice. So maybe I will get into that fight. So for part of the scry action is you can spend a gold to then do a move action. So he might say, yeah, I'm going to spend this, and I'm going to move myself right in there and deal with this. And so this could be a pretty good way to just get 4 victory points. So, the idea is that these challenge tokens are meant to slow Conan down or deter him. But he might decide it's worth using those dice, and he might end up, he might form a pool with all of these, and even if he he might end up losing several of these dice, if they aren't successes, even if he ultimately prevails. But yeah, 4 victory points, because, depending on where you are on the trek, you might be like, oh, I get to roll a kingdom die or get a gold, get that gold back, or get a fate token. That might be something that Conan is like, yeah, I need to get a scry fate token. So there could be any number of reasons why Conan is going to go for it. So that is the way that the fight works. Now with the duel, it's very similar, but there are a couple of things that happen. So we're going to do this example, and we're going to return these. And let's actually, to make this kind of a realistic example, we're going to do that. We're going to do that. And let's say that we do that right there. And we're looking at Tothamon on his turn. And let's say that he's got a wild here. So he's going to spend this to do a move action. And he's going to move into this kingdom to initiate a duel. And again, this is an immediate effect. As soon as he does that, we are initiating a duel. Now, the first thing that is different about it is by initiating a duel, whichever player initiates it gets a local fate token. And that's going to be a fate token that matches any attribute of the current kingdom. So Shem has the thief attribute and the warrior attribute. So Tothamon is going to get a token. And, being a savvy character, knowing that he's going to be dueling Conan, having this warrior gives him a little bit of a safety net, because if he has a bad roll, he can turn at least one of his dice into a warrior and count that as a hit. So that is the first step, is by the initiating player, they're going to get a fate token. So you don't get that in a fight, but in a duel, you do, because we want to encourage people to have duels. So it's nice to get these. He might have really wanted to get that because he's looking to spend it at the end of the round in order to move up on the thief track, or maybe there's an adventure that has, like this one, he's like, oh, I want to get a thief token for this adventure because I might be able to get some points there. So again, there's a few different bits of motivation. Step 2 is that the initiating player forms their warrior pool first. So we're looking here, again, we've got 2 warriors, we've got a character that can deploy to warrior. So Tothamon, he's all in. He's like, I'm fighting Conan, I'm using all 3 of my dice. The defending player, the one who didn't initiate, which in this case is Conan, they do get the benefit of knowing how serious they are before forming their pool. So at this point, Conan could just say, I'm not going to roll any dice. If the foe ends up doing a roll and doesn't get any hits, then Conan wins a tie. Of course, Conan knows that he's definitely not going to win. So he's like, sure, I only have 1 die that I can use. And this is one of the reasons why the foe is initiating this duel, is Conan can't use a thief, can't use a pirate, it can't use scry or kingdom. This is the only die that Conan can use in this duel. So there's my warrior pool. And now both players can roll simultaneously. And again, you're looking for warriors or wilds. So here, this is kind of interesting. So we've got a wild, that's 1 hit. We've got a scry and we've got a character. So these are not successes, and Conan has a success. And again, you can use these to help keep track because you're going to be re-rolling dice. So they each have 1 success, which, remember, Conan wins a tie. So the foe is already in a little bit of trouble. Now you can use this, but they're going to say, like, you know what, let's use it when we absolutely had. So these are both now spent. They started with 3 dice. They have this one was used for a move, and they had 3 other dice. And now the foe is like, whoops, now I might be out of all of my dice for this round. So now they both are going to roll again. And we're going to see how we do here. And okay, so this is fun. So another success for the foe, because they've got the wild. But Conan has 2 successes. So I'm just going to drop those over there. So now Conan is really winning. So, but it's not over. And at any point, somebody can say, you know what, I'm going to stop. If the foe stops here, this is an active die. So they might say, you know what, I'm going to lose. I'm definitely going to lose. But maybe I want to keep this. Although the downside, of course, is that they're going to be wounded if they do lose. And so they're like, I'm in it now. So they're going to roll again. Because what happens is if Conan doesn't roll a success and the foe does, then the foe will be up and the foe can keep going. So even though they're currently losing and they're down to one die, they're like, you know what, let's do it again. Oh, look at that. So this is really going well for Conan, and this is why dueling Conan is do it at your risk, because rolling warriors is what he's all about. He's really good at that. He's got a 50-50 chance with these dice, and on 1 and 6 he's going to roll a double. So now, now it's really looking bad, but there's ain't nothing to it but to do it. So we keep going. Oh, look at that. This is great for this example. So and at this point, let's just say that they said, all right, they rolled a sorcery, and Conan rolled. Let's say Conan rolled that. So that's another success for Conan. Now, at this point, the foe could spend this in order to change this to keep going. But they're reading the writing on the walls here. So they're like, you know what? No. That's going to be a spent die. I've lost this. Conan has rolled another success. And he can keep going. But even though he's already won. Because here's the thing. This is the difference also with the fight. Is that with the fight, as soon as you get all the successes you need, it's over. And let's say that Conan had 3 successes with the fight and he rolled a double warrior to give him 5. Having extra successes does him no good. He doesn't get anything more for it. But with a duel, he is going to score victory points equal to the difference here. And so the foe had 4. We've got 8 here. So that's 4 victory points right there. And Conan can keep going. And if he does keep rolling successes, he's just getting more and more points. Now, if he rolls a fail, he doesn't roll a warrior, then it's going to be a spent die. And he can stop at any point where he has a success and keep that as an active die. And that's what Conan is going to do. He's going to say, you know what, this is great. The difference here is 4, so Conan would move his point marker up 4 points. The foe is going to take a wound, and that means that one of their dice is out for the round, and there is an order of operations here. If the foe had any active dice, that's what he's got to choose. He's going to lose an active die for the rest of the round, and if you've got the expanded board, it's got this nice little space for set-aside dice, for encounters, and then wounds, but you can just stick it wherever. I stick them on the card. If he didn't have any active dice, but he did have a die on the encounter track, wouldn't be a warrior, but let's say he's got that sorcery there, that's what he has to lose as a wound. And then if he doesn't have one there, then he gets to pick any of his other dice. So he's like, you know what, these dice have got 2 sides that have a wild, so he's going to lose one of his primary dice. And then the last thing is that the winner gets to kick the loser into an adjacent kingdom. So this is off the board. And so, yeah, again, anytime you're adjacent to Eastern Desert or Hyperborea, that's a great place to kick somebody, because when a character is trying to move out of these kingdoms, they've got this double move icon. That means it takes 2 dice, 2 moves, 2 dice that can do a move action to get out of this. It's hard to get out. Much easier to get into Eastern Desert, harder to get out. Costs you 2 dice to do it. So it's a great punishment, like you have fled Shem into the Eastern Desert with dishonor. So that is how they work. That's the difference between a fight and a duel. And again, they can be really good ways to score victory points. They're good ways to just force a player to spend dice. If Conan is like really getting close to moving up and unlocking a free die on the achievement track and getting that 5 victory points at the end of the game, on Warrior, you're like, you know what, maybe we need to get Conan to use up all of his warrior dice in a fight or a duel. He might get some victory points. He might get 4 points or whatever, but I don't want him to get that free die because his dice cost 3 gold each. And so if he's getting one of those for free, that's pretty bad news for the ally and for the foe, especially. The more dice Conan can get, the more powerful he gets. So that is another reason why you might want to, harry Conan with challenge tokens that have fights, and there's a bunch of them in here. So I keep pulling really good ones. But here's a 3 warrior fight. So there's a 2, a 3, and a 4 in the base game. And again, you place these down somewhere. you can put them in what you think is going to be Conan's path, or if this was a kingdom that had an adventure. So we're like, oh, there's an adventure in Karaja. You're like, great, Conan, he's right next to it. That's like probably where he wants to go. I'm going to put this token here, and maybe he won't go. And again, and you can do it as a bluff. You can be like, oh, I'm going to put this token there, and Conan is like, great, I'm going over here, and then you go in there later on and go get it yourself. That doesn't always work for you because again, you can use a scry action to peek at these things, but. Yeah, it can be an effective tool, especially if Conan doesn't want to use dice for a fight or a duel, or he can't do it. And some of the other characters are, some of the foes are much better at fights, and they're better suited to doing that. Like Aemon the Flayed starts the game right in Pictlin, and Conan starts in Samaria. So you're right there. If you want to go start fighting Conan or duel Conan right away. Of course, that works the other way. Conan may be like, oh, looks easy pickings. I'm going to beat up on Aemon the Flayed and then kick him off to Zingara if I can beat him, get some points, and wound him. So that's how these work. So let me know if you have any questions about fights and duels. And yeah, I'll be sure to answer them. So that's it for this video, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.